Hello, party people of the world. You're here with Danny and Evan, back on the first cut. The first cut. First cut of our lives.
Hey, party people.
What's up? Today is October 23rd, and we are back with part 2 of Gone Too Soon. This is Evan's list. We are beginning today with the Fleet Foxes. Not just Fleet Foxes.
This is my hodgepodge list. My Gone Too Soon.
Let's go ahead and get it started with Sun It Rises, off the self-titled Fleet Foxes.
Okay, so obviously last episode was my faithful companion's
companion.
It was my companion's
You said it twice.
It was my companion's list for Gone Too Soon, and he had a handful of bands that he dearly misses that don't exist anymore, and so now that was a great list, wonderful list. Now it's my turn. It took me a little while to conjure stuff up because we had a fairly strict criteria for what kind of counts as Gone Too Soon. Because, I mean, for people who are familiar with Fleet Foxes, which is probably a lot of people, they are not by any means an unpopular band or an obscure band. I mean, at the height of their career, they were, like, very, very, very famous.
Yes.
So, I feel like I needed to talk about them, though, because they're one of the most important bands it sounds lofty to say my life, but certainly my career and in my just creative self-realization. So first off, Fleet Foxes, they're still around. I mean, they're to call them Gone Too Soon, it's interesting to say that because
let's describe what "they're still around" means.
Yeah. Well, okay. So, timeline of the band. So I think they got together around 2006 or so.
Sounds about right.
They started making some music. They put out an EP called Sun Giant and released it maybe 2007. 2008, they put out this bombshell, which was this album just changed everything for me. Incredibly beautiful, especially it was such a ray of sunshine in a musical landscape that was just being dominated by electronic drums and fluff and extraneous nonsense. And this album really stripped it down back to like the bucolic, like pastoral sounds, and really I think melded like sort of the modern time, like our 21st century world with that pastoral sound of yesteryear. Anyhow, so they put out this album. Then a couple years later, they did Helplessness Blues, which was another masterpiece. And after Helplessness Blues, that's when they fell off the map. They kind of disappeared for a long, long time. It must have been 6 years or so.
Helplessness Blues showing here came out in 2011.
Okay. So, yeah, I was going to say, it took, I think 3 years from this one to Helplessness Blues. So even then, after this one, people were saying, wow, where are they? It's been 3 years. But, they put out another one. But after Helplessness Blues, they disappeared for a little bit. Of course, after years, it became known that Robin Pecknold, the singer and leader of the band, decided to go to college in New York and pursue an education in whatever he did. And so for...
That's a good one, too. It's very applicable.
I think it had to do with music composition, something like that. Anyhow, so they disappeared for a long time. They did wind up coming back and releasing an album called Crack Up, which I think is really good, but personally not anything to like do anything special to their formula. So I guess the reason this fits for me as like a Gone Too Soon is because I mean when they dropped Helplessness Blues, that was such like an important piece of work, and then they disappeared, and they left a lot of people really, really like hungry for more. And so, you know, when I hear like, oh hey, what's a band, if someone asks me what's a band that you think truly just like fell off the map and like left you hanging, I mean, it'd be Fleet Foxes. I mean,
and my big perspective from it too is that like, and I could be totally wrong. I'm admittedly very ignorant to the history of Fleet Foxes, but my understanding too is more or less that yeah, Helplessness Blues came out, and then there was realistically a very long time, not like Chinese Democracy long, but certainly a very
or MBV long.
Or what?
MBV, My Bloody Valentine. They took them like 20 years to put out their follow-up.
Or Pink Floyd's anyways. But yeah, like for conventional standards, it was a very long time. I think it was at least 5 years. I think.
For what now?
For Crack Up.
Yeah, that came out in June 2016. So I mean, I guess it was 5 years.
Yeah, 5 years. Yeah. So, but to my point, that I believe like my understanding surrounding the everything prior was that they were on like what was considered more or less a permanent hiatus, and then eventually went, all right, let's do one more, and then they did. And you know, I don't follow them on Twitter. I don't pretend to be in the loop, but it sounds like that's now the new consensus again, is like maybe we'll make another album again someday. Well, maybe we won't.
And a couple things to understand too is Crack Up, it's not as if, and I mean, I don't mean to say this to sound like cynical about the band or about Robin's creative, about his creative work, but like I think Crack Up, it was not conceived like on the spot. I think Crack Up was sort of written and the framework was put together shortly after Helplessness Blues, but they just kind of all banded. You know, they all kind of fell apart, you know, and drifted away from each other for 5 years. And then they finally said, hey, let's realize this thing we've been, you know, sort of, it's been on the shelf for so long. And I've heard him explicitly say that these songs are like 5 years old. I mean, these have been around for a long time. And that's probably why a lot of the songs sound like very similar to that same kind of sound. You know, when Crack Up came out, I really like genuinely wanted, and of course I fully understand, it doesn't matter what I want. The artist can make what they want. That's the most beautiful thing about creativity and art. But you know, I guess my soul was sort of had this urgency for like something just radically different.
Yeah, we had a long talk about this last night, I remember.
Yeah.
Where we were talking about, something that I know really bothered me was, if you certainly don't mind talking about this, but something that's been bothering me in the music world is a musician, a prolific musician who Evan and I both hold very dearly in our beings.
Yeah, that's right, okay.
Yeah, for your
I totally forgot about the talk.
A man by that of a name of Steven Wilson, formerly of Porcupine Tree, continuing to still release music under his name, Steven Wilson, as well as Blackfield, Bass Communion, recently put out an EP with a friend, under the pseudonym God, which was very interesting. He was kind of famous for saying in an interview a while ago that he had sacrificed family for music, and by that meaning like well, you know, I've sacrificed the ambition of being a family man, of having a family, and all of these sorts of things to make music my primal directive. And of course, I'm paraphrasing very heavily, but that was the intention of the point. And a lot of people really gravitated towards that, maybe because they're incels or whatever. And I'm not saying that Steven Wilson is, and I'm certainly not saying that all of his fans are, but a lot of people really gravitated towards that statement
MG
of like,
Towel.
Yeah, that statement of like, oh man, well, yeah, like that's why I don't do it, I guess, or whatever. And Steven Wilson recently became invested in this woman. And presumably they fell in love, and I believe she has a daughter, if not children, plural, but certainly one child, and they got married, and now he has his own little family. And his community talks so much shit about him because he has a family now, and because he's married, and he's again presumably happy.
Yeah,
and
that news genuinely like warms my heart. That,
yeah, me too.
I knew that he was gonna like find someone someday.
But that's precisely what bothers me so much, is that like first and foremost, like what other people decide they want in their lives, even if it's entirely contradictory to like what has previously been said, is nobody's business but theirs. So for people to get so upset over a man's happiness because of one thing he said a while ago is infuriating. And that really, really deeply bothers me, that like purely because he was a musician under different circumstances, and now he's decided to change his circumstances for one reason or another, whether it's his happiness or whatever else, that people like disavow him is really disgusting. And you know, I'm certainly not one to shy away from scrutiny and criticism of music, but life choices and music are entirely separate.
Yeah, and there's a couple of quotes I really love there's the one by a famous jazz musician who I can't remember specifically who it is, but he once said, if all you have in life is music, you don't have music. Yeah. I really love that because it's so true. It's so true.
Absolutely. It's so true. I say it every day. It's never not true. We're going to build a wall.
Yeah.
Listen, Jose. Are you listening to me? We're going to build it 30 fucking feet high. No ladders are going to be able to... okay, I'm sorry. Anyways.
Oh, man.
You brought this on.
Oh, yeah, that's a great song. Yeah, so there's that quote, and then there's if I can remember, I actually think this is something that like Stephen King said, actually.
Interesting.
And it's not exactly,
brilliant man.
Yeah, brilliant man. I don't think it's like specifically a quote, so I'm definitely going to paraphrase, but he said something a while back to the extent of so for the longest time in his career, he sort of mistakenly believed that life was his support system for his art, but he kind of realized, like, after like a long time of like alcoholism and really pushing himself to like crunch, like and like breaking himself with his work, that he realized that like he was neglecting his family, he was neglecting things in life that made him happy other than creativity.
Right.
And so he eventually realized, and it's like the other way around. It's like art is your support system for life. Your art supports your life, and your life is what your life is what life is about.
Right. If you're living for art, you're not living.
Yeah. And so, of course, that's the mystique, and when we all first decide to be artists and musicians and whatever you choose to do, whatever the path, it's so like, it's such a fantastical little path to walk down, like, oh, I'm going to be I'm so dedicated an artist, I'm going to dedicate my life, and I will do nothing but consume art and create art, and I will just be a fucking hermit, and like, right. It doesn't work out that way, man. No. You can't sustain that.
I mean, that's what I'm doing.
I mean, and that, hey, like, there are people like that. That's great. But those people legitimately have... those are like savants. We're talking about people who
right.
are definitely not your average bear. So... which Steven Wilson, I think, is a great example of that. I mean, yeah, he's spent the past 35 years of his life to music. It's been dedicated to music. And
pretty much since from the early 80s till now.
Yeah.
If not even maybe the late 70s.
The guy has been insanely prolific and constantly working. And he is a true, like, maverick, true, like, extremely prolific artist, but he's found love, and he's found not only love for another person, a significant other, but love for a child, and that's just I knew he would do that. I just my gut always told me that he would find that love.
There's also a point, I think, to be said too, like, I listed several projects that he's presently in or was previously in, like as a band. I also missed No Man somehow, which was another huge project that he was in. But on top of all of that, he's a producer, so he actually makes records for people and then remasters and remixes albums as well. Like, he is insanely... It has been stated by several people that in the world of progressive rock, there is no harder working musician. Yeah, anyways, to Evan's point, yeah, like...
Yeah.
Just let the man live his life, dude.
But yes, as far as Fleet Foxes goes, yeah, I don't know where they're going as a band. If Crack Up was the last thing they do, it's a great way to go out. I think they're all very talented musicians and also very creative people, and most of them has, of course, everyone knows Father John Misty.
I was gonna say they did make
Josh Tillman. Yeah, everyone knows Josh Tillman and his dissatisfaction with the band, and he wanted to go off and do his own thing, and so yeah, he did Father John Misty, which arguably became way more popular than Fleet Foxes.
I would say, yeah, certainly.
Yeah.
I do like how you can see FJM over here in the far right, and he even looks like dissatisfied in his picture.
Yeah, he and
so
Robin,
separate.
I think, were always at odds. Excuse me.
Also, local band.
Yeah, local.
I don't know how Evan didn't mention that, or I didn't. Seattle.
Yes, in fact, this was recorded at Avast Studios in Greenwood.
Nice. Part of Crack Up was recorded in Anacortes.
Yep, I even talked to Nick about that a while ago.
Your buddy Nick Wilbur. Yeah.
Nick Wilbur, yep.
From the Unknown in Anacortes, Washington.
He's cool people. I always run into him at the damn grocery store, no matter what I do.
Yeah, every time I see him, I wave, and he goes like, ugh. I'm kidding, I don't. I don't see him. I've met him, obviously, because you've been there on a couple of occasions. I've met him, but we don't really know each other, I would say.
Yeah.
which is funny because I think that's the first, like, whenever I talk about anybody, I'm like, oh yeah, it's a friend of mine, or yeah, I know this guy. And I'm not saying that at all to be like, yeah, I don't like Nick or anything. He's a cool guy. I just don't know him.
Yep. He is, he's a gentleman and a scholar.
Yeah.
Nothing, dun, dun, I can see. Okay.
Gentleman and the scholar.
Huh?
The gentleman and the scholar.
So yes, Fleet Foxes, Gone Too Soon, in a unique way. Just yeah, Gone Too Soon.
Gone too soon.
They had I mean, I think they still have a lot to say, but I don't think they have a lot to say with the Fleet Foxes moniker. I think individually these artists have a lot to say now. So, there it is. And it's time to move on to the next pick.
And we're back, party people. We're back. We're back.
We're back.
We're back. We're back in black. I'm in green. We're back with Rose Windows, also out of Seattle. This is a total Seattle list, evidently. Rose Windows, they're self-titled, the titular Rose Windows. We're starting with Bodhi song.
Yeah, that's a great one.
Let me tell you something. How's it going?
Hi. Rose Windows, another Seattle band, of course. You know, this band, you know what? This band was quite popular in the Seattle area.
Also Sub Pop, I'm realizing.
Yeah, on Sub Pop. So they were back in maybe, I think this band broke up in 2015. When did this album come out? They came out
2015.
Yeah, okay. They broke up.
Well, it says it right there.
So this band, they broke up in 2015, which it was kind of a shocking event because they had become so influential, like in the sort of Seattle indie scene. I forget the 90.3 KEXP in Seattle here, the little local indie radio station. They were darlings for that station, and they became quite well known. And so yeah, it was a bombshell when they decided to split apart. And I haven't really done any digging. I've not been curious enough to try and figure out the reasons behind the breakup exactly. I'm assuming creative differences. That's kind of where I generally go. This band, though, however, as we can see, they released, 3 albums? 4 albums?
Yes, 3. Trays.
Quite prolific for their time that they were around, which wasn't very long.
They were in rapid succession, 2013, 2014, 2015.
Yeah. So they had a lot of really, really good music. And just musically, there's a lot to talk about with this band. They're one of those bands that I like to sort of call like a tone band. Like that's kind of like their signature thing is like the production work, like the tone of
like the White Stripes.
Yeah, something like that. And so I think the production value is like very, very good, like squeaky clean, and just really, really like beautiful and spacious, like a spacious, roomy production quality, and I really love it. And yeah, it took me a while to really conjure this band up in my head, but they just perfectly fill that need for a band that's gone too soon, just straight up gone before their time.
There's also probably a point, I think, to be said too, that despite that most of our lists are 3 picks and sometimes we go a little over, this is the one case, at least so far, and maybe the one case ever, where we are doing the opposite, where it is a 2-pick day.
Yep. I mean, I could think of a lot of bands that certainly don't fit the criteria, the criteriums. Stuff going around. I just wanted to keep it nice and, for the sake of brevity, like, just keep it down to 2 picks, and especially poignant since they're both Seattle picks, and I guess they both sort of like, I mean, yeah, and this band broke up, and then like the next year, Fleet Foxes put out their long-awaited follow-up, and then yeah, they've just kind of both, for all intents and purposes, been out of commission, and yeah, but you know, sometimes a band comes along, it does something really interesting. You know, you get, what was that, 6 people. You get 6 people who come along, and they put their minds together, and they work with each other, and they create something that's really, really interesting and worth talking about, and they deserve like all the praise they got. But sometimes when all those heads get together, it's just, it's a dangerous cocktail. And yeah, who knows? Especially beard guy in the front, he looks very intimidating. Maybe he scared everyone.
I think that is his birth name. Beard guy. Fucking Seattleite Brent Hines. Brent Hines.
Yeah. And I think, like, to another thing about this band, I think they nicely, like, sort of picked up, they sort of picked up the torch from, like, other Seattle, like sort of Seattle's, like, pedigree as far as music goes, because this song, I think, sounds like, this is one of their kind of bigger singles, and it sounds like, I think it sounds kind of like Alice in Chains, like, and so you get that sound. And they have other songs that sound more like Nirvana, and they have other songs that sound more like, you know, so like they...
Soundgarden?
Yeah, oh, definitely. Yeah, they kind of like, I mean, it's reductive to say that, like, that they're just like, that there's some mishmash of like Seattle music tropes, but I think they...
But that's what you're saying.
Yeah, I'm gonna say that. I think they genuinely like mashed those things together, and I think they're they are a signature like Seattle band, and I like that because, you know, there are plenty of bands from Seattle that are like, oh, they sound like they're from fucking Europe. It's like, that's great. That's great. You sound like you're British, but you're from Seattle. But, you know, I always like it when a band sounds like where they're from, so that's cool. I always appreciate the regional authenticity.
Right.
Yeah. So.
Right. I never heard this band before.
Yeah.
But I like it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just, let's just like listen to some of the music for a sec. Right. So, yeah, it's pretty evident here, like, if you're as much of like if you geek out about like production techniques and production qualities, I think this band just like touches those buttons big time. And I love like this wonderful sound stage, like of like where like each instrument sits in the mix, and just like the stereo field is like so like nicely laid out, and it's so rich in the way they like mix, like they fuck around with woodwinds and stuff, and all kinds of they play electric guitars and acoustic guitars and all kinds of like organs and Rhodes and all that stuff. Great, just great sound. Very beautiful and organic. Mm-hmm. Cage free.
Free range.
And I think they're
free.
They have great lyrics too. A lot of their lyrics are kind of very like social justice kind of lyrics. And I like that.
That's good. I like that. We like that around these parts.
Yeah. You're being difficult.
I have a lizard, and he's being difficult. He's working his way up to timeout, I'll tell you what.
Spanking.
Yeah, I'm gonna spank his little chicken butt. His little vent.
His little vent.
That's what they call it.
Yum.
Yeah.
You know who else has gone too soon? Smash Mouth.
Well, good night, people.
Good night.
Smash Mouth certainly was gone pretty quick, but I don't know if too soon is the language that I would use.
I think they were verging on like prog avant-garde, like really changing the game. I think it was just their avarice got in the way.
The thing with Smash Mouth, well, you know, their singer became a part of
a professional chicken wing eater.
He became a part of the amalgam that is currently today referred to as Guy Fieri. It was him and when that other guy from ICP kind of they ran into each other at full speed.
And they just play with magnets all day and shit.
They ran into each other at full speed. and a bowling shirt was dropped into the mess, and Guy Fieri is here to stay. Now he plays with magnets all day in Flavor Town, asking
how do
they work.
They walk around the void, the purgatory void that is Flavor Town.
Right.
And it's just all there's no businesses except for diners, drive-ins, and dives. Those are the only businesses that exist.
Yeah, they all have fucking checkerboard floors.
So the only reason to exist in this universe
all of the waitresses broads
is to crawl from diner to diner and eat cheese sticks all day and stuff your face in the fucking kitchen and bug the cooks all day.
Yeah.
And then get kicked out of one restaurant and go to the next one.
Dance to some polka music. Fucking beer fry some zucchini.
Yeah. You never have to refrost your tips too, because it just
sexually harass the wait staff. That's got to have been a thing that Guy Fieri did. He looks like the type. I'm kidding. Yeah. I love Guy Fieri. He's great. Even if he's in the business of getting morbidly obese and not doing it somehow. That dude's got to have multiple stomachs, I bet you.
Oh, we forgot to mention they drink Faygo all day, too.
I wonder if he's bulimic. Maybe that's what it is.
Maybe. They play with magnets and drink Faygo.
Like, just like, oh, man, this poutine is gangster. I can't wait to throw this shit back up.
Oh, man, I got the Faygo burps.
I got the hot gravy shits.
Oh Lordy.
My God.
Of course. I knew weeks ago that this podcast would fucking spiral out of control into Guy Fieri, ICP, and Smash Mouth. I knew that.
It was in the bones,
as if divinely ordained. I felt it.
Oh boy.
Yeah, I knew that happened.
You read the bones, and that's what came out. You had your Turkish coffee, and it was in the grounds.
Yeah. Anyhow, yeah. Okay, Rose Window's great, beautiful. This is definitely like their biggest single. I mean, if you like pay attention to like Seattle indie music, then yeah, you've probably heard the song. This is a very well-known, popular song.
I haven't.
Yeah, well...
Well, it just goes to say for my point before, but yeah.
Yeah. Also, if you want to check out like a good local artist, Michael True.
Oh yeah, he's kind of in this vein. Autumn Electric was.
Yeah.
He just released a new album with his new band. After we had worked with him, his band Moonletters was actually reviewed by Prog Magazine. That was fucking sick.
Yeah, Moonletters are great. The album we made with Michael was great, but Moonletters.
Yeah, they're badass.
They're amazing. That level of music,
the album was self-titled, right?
I would have been intimidated to have worked on that. And of course,
I would have liked to.
Well, I would have liked to, but I would have been intimidated because the music is a lot more complex than his solo album was going for, which is great because his solo album was pushing more for like his influence of like solo era Peter Gabriel and REM and like Elton John, like some more classic influences. But Moonletters is just going straight for like throat with Peter Gabriel era Genesis and King Crimson and like straight progressive rock.
Right.
So yes, Michael True, Moonletters, man, check it out, big time. I should have said that earlier. If we're gonna go on this like Seattle tip, yeah, let's do it.
Yeah.
And he is definitely not gone too soon because he is still around.
Yes, still making music, still touring, all of that. I might be collaborating with the legendary John.
Don't say his name.
Why not?
I'm scared. Something bad might happen.
John Alday.
Or he might appear.
You keep interrupting me.
He might appear.
I'm gonna have to smile.
There he is at the door.
Yeah. Him and his beautiful mane of hair.
Yeah. Yep.
Rivals fucking like oh good lord, what is his name? Claudio from Coheed and Cambria.
Yes. Coheed and Cambria.
Coheed and Cambria.
I chime in with the haven't you I'm joking.
Whoa.
Jesus Christ, I'm joking.
Coheed and Cambria they did that song Buddy Holly, right? They did Linger. That was a classic. Did you have to let it linger? This is Coheed and Cambria. Yeah.
Yeah, Coheed, they did Ba With Da Ba.
They did Ba With Da Ba. They did that other one. They did American Pie. They did I believe they actually composed Canon in D originally. They were the first people to ever pat on rocks and create percussive sounds.
Yeah, fuck. I actually think, honestly, no, they invented like
music as we know it.
They actually invented sound.
Yeah, true. Before Coheed and Cambria, there was no sound. In fact, I remember actually, I believe in the Bible, if you go back and read it.
I think it's Matthew 3:17.
No, this was in Genesis.
Oh.
Since we were talking about Genesis. So it's in the very beginning of the Bible.
Oh.
In the Bible, as God was creating the earth and he was creating the heavens and the stars and the sun, and then created light several days after the sun, he asked Coheed and Cambria, he said, "Can I make sound?" Which he didn't say it, he wrote it on a piece of paper with a ballpoint pen, and they said, "Now you may." Now that I have spake.
I have this idea.
Now that I have spake first.
We have this idea of this medium which travels through the air and into these things that are on the side of our heads.
Yeah. And that what? And then he sang Bye Bye Beautiful and the Garden of Eden was created. I know that's not the name of the song. The name of the song is A Favor House Atlantic.
Yes.
We all know.
What the heck?
It was a horse.
I'm a fucking horse.
Yeah. Sexual lobster. Or greasy tail.
Yeah, he had to change his fucking... That sucks ass. I saw the story about why he had to change his name.
Yeah.
That sucks ass.
Yeah.
I mean, it sucks that he had to change such a classic name.
Soon,
Sexual Lobster.
Speaking of Gone Too Soon, the pseudonym Sexual Lobster has gone too soon.
Yeah, what was it? So he changed his name just as sort of a gag, and people were like, "No, dude, change it back. We don't like this." And he's like, "Okay." He went to go change it back, and YouTube said, "You can't pick that as a name. That's vulgar."
Seriously, that's what it was.
Yeah, I mean,
wow.
In a nutshell, there may be a little bit more to it, but yeah, it's essentially what it came down to.
I think on social media, he still goes by Sexual Lobster though.
Yeah, but basically YouTube just shut him down and said no, dude, you can't do that. That's not a friendly name to her. So essentially he was grandfathered into that name, and by backing out for even a moment, they said no more.
That was cool of them. YouTube makes a lot of good sound decisions. They're really creator friendly. Nobody disagrees with me on that part, I can guarantee you. And I would challenge anybody who does disagree. Come on, or I'll come on your platform. I'll talk about it. YouTube, they're doing God's work for sure, without question, and they know God personally. So
I think
clear.
I think YouTube they're the modern crusaders. They're spreading the gospel.
Yeah, and for that matter, the Crusades, that was totally a positive thing. Obviously, nothing but good came out of the 400-year war.
Holy crap.
YouTube, they're doing so much good. I cannot state enough, and it makes me fucking angry. I can't state enough how much good YouTube is doing with all of these new policies that they're making. It's just nothing but good. It's all up from here. I heard that the creator of YouTube donated one of his lungs to a dying kid. That was cool. Have you donated a lung to a dying child? Bet you fucking haven't.
Well, but that kid grew up to be a murderer.
Yeah, but he murdered a bunch of bad people.
Damn, this is ambiguous.
Yeah.
The morality here is really hard to keep track of.
Yeah, exactly.
Shit.
So it cannot be stated enough how much of a positive force YouTube has become. I seriously think that when Armageddon is ushered in, YouTube will be the ones to single-handedly slay the beast.
Yeah.
And will save us all.
Or at the very least, with the rapture, they'll pick their 10 most famous influencers, and they're going to ascend them to the realm of heaven.
Right. Of course, I'll be one of them because I'm speaking so positively of them.
It's going to be that. It's going to be Markiplier. It's going to be Logan Paul.
Jimmy Kimmel.
Jimmy Kimmel. James Campbell.
Jimmy Kimmel. It's gonna be me, Markiplier, not Evan, unfortunately, because he didn't.
I don't make the cut.
Like I did. It's gonna be me, Markiplier, Logan Paul, Jimmy Kimmel, and in a total shocker, Hitler.
Fuck.
They're pulling him back. They're saying we're taking him out from hell. We're putting him up above. And then he says something mildly racist, and they send him right back down.
Oh, my Lord.
You'd think you'd learn, but no. It's in his blood.
That's crazy. Ew.
Which, coincidentally, has become nothing but worm food anyways, so... Now we have Nazi worms. Thanks, Germany.
You know, I was doing some Wikipedia, just bullshit research on,
On Hitler?
Something like that, yeah.
Okay.
Well, but specifically on, because I was looking up what Angel of Death was about,
The song?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And I never knew like specifically who. I knew it was about like a Nazi or something.
Joseph Mendel.
Yeah, exactly. And so, but it turns out that it's like really upsetting. But it's like the guy like escaped. He explicitly he escaped before Nazi Germany was stopped and before Hitler's Third Reich was destroyed. He escaped to South America and lived out a full life of anonymity and affluence. I mean, he lived well for the rest of his life, which is genuinely upsetting.
Yeah.
And it upsets me very much to learn that. And he died as an old man, like in like just swimming out in the ocean, which is, I don't know, but
I wonder if the same Stingray that got Steve Irwin got old Joe.
Old Joey.
That's what we called him.
Yeah,
that's what we called him back in old Nazi Germany. I was there.
But of course, if I was wearing my tinfoil hat, I would suggest that Hitler himself also got away. But no,
probably not.
Probably not. I'll follow the rest of the world in believing what is most likely true.
Yeah.
Most likely true. Yep.
And also, Jeffrey Epstein was murdered, not suicided.
Yeah, what happened with that?
I don't know.
Was he murdered?
I don't know. Was he?
I don't know.
Good night, everybody. We've had a lot of fun tonight. We've gotten really real with each other. Evan got a little drunk.
If we're gonna talk about as a last word. Since we're talking about horrible, gross, disgusting people.
Ooh. Like where this is
The
going.
song is called Aurora Avenue. If anyone here is from the Seattle area, you know Aurora Avenue, and you know that it's a fucked up place.
That's true.
It's bad.
Not a great place to drive.
Not a great place to drive.
Yeah, but wasn't Beth's on Aurora? Beth's Cafe?
Maybe.
Anyways, go ahead.
Oh, no, it's just Aurora. Aurora, man. That's where Hitler would have lived if he was still around.
Okay.
No, I'm joking.
I bought meth on Aurora once.
Aurora.
It was that blue.
Aurora.
Crystal blue.
Yep.
Been rewatching Breaking Bad and been having a great time with it.
Yep. Yeah, Aurora just goes all the way through Shoreline and all the way through North Seattle, and it is not the greatest avenue in the world.
It is chaotic, neutral, maybe teetering towards evil.
Yeah. It's an avenue that definitely has an agenda. Yeah. It's definitely following its own agenda.
True.
So, anyways, holler at your boy.
Holler at your koala.
And goodbye to Rose Windows. Great band, great music, Fleet Foxes, Wham Bam, represent, love them.
Right.
On to the next list. Soon,
yes. Well, people, we've had so much fun on this day, the day of our Lord. We've had Cheetos, we've had Fritos, Doritos, and our good friend Julius Pringles is not happy because we didn't have any Pringles. Yeah. You know the adages. Don't smoke meth, don't drink and drive. Wrap it before you attack it. You've heard it all before. Stay in school.
No glove, no love, yes.
Stay in school. Whatever you're working towards, it's probably worth it. And if it's not, well then, just fuck it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. Yep.
Find a reason to hug a homeless person.
Yeah.
Just do it.
There's lots of them on Aurora Avenue. So.
They need love.
Yep.
They need love. That's going to do it from us here at Natural Cut Records Lands. Evan, do you have anything you'd like to say to the people before I destroy this computer with an axe?
Love never fails.
Except
love is
when
the
it does.
answer.
Except when it's not.
Love with all your heart. All you need is love. Love, love, love. We love you.
I don't. Yeah, I do.
We don't love you.
Goodbye, people.